Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome along to Manx Radio's Sport Classified for Saturday the 29th of March. Simon Quine with you through until just before 6 o'clock this evening, joined by Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham as we review all the action in football, rugby and hockey. Rob Pritchard also joining me live from the Bowl with team news a little bit later on as the Ravens take on Lower Breck, hoping to end their longest run without a win that so far this season. Big weekend in football so far. We were able to confirm the Canada Life Men's Premier League champions and also the Arden and Drug Unlimited Division 2 champions. More on that and reaction to today's game with Tony coming up. But we will start with a look at the classified results and beginning with football in Canada Life Men's Premier League. Laxey 0, Ayr United 3, Russian United 7, Foxdale 3, Ramsey 1, Corinthians 0, St John's United 3, Union Mills 3. In Arden and Drug Unlimited Division 2, Colby 8, Michael United 3. The game between Maloo and Douglas High School Old Boys was postponed due to Maloo being unable to field a team. That is an away win. Continuing in Arden and Drug Unlimited Division 2, Governors Athletic 1, Braddon 1. Douglas and District 0, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 5, Castletown 1, Douglas Royal 8. Canada Life Combination 1. We're awaiting a result for the game between Union Mills and St John's United. If you do know that, 166, 177. Foxdale 1, Ramsey 6. Onken 7, Russian United 4. Moving on to Arden and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Douglas High School Old Boys 2, Braddon 3. Pulrose 0, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 2. And again, awaiting a result in the game between Douglas Royal and Douglas and District. Again, if you do know that, 166, 177. Turning our attention to rugby, just the two games today. Started off in Counties 3, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire. Vagabonds 36, Colne and Nelson 17. And in the Manx Cup, Douglas 64, Southern Nomads 0. In hockey, Men's Premier League, Backers A4, Valkyries A1. Vikings A6, Valkyries B0. We're awaiting a result of the game between Harlequins A and Castletown A. Ladies Premier League, Vikings A0, Valkyries A0. Backers A1, Ramsey A0. Harlequins A1, Castletown A2. Men's Division 1, Vikings B4, Ramsey A1. Castletown B4, Backers C2. Backers B9, Harlequins B0. Ladies Division 1, Valkyries B9, Castletown D0. Castletown B6, Vikings B0. Castletown C0, Backers B2. In Men's Division 2, Backers Colts against Valkyries C was awarded as an away win. Backers Colts were unable to field a team, and a late game, which is just getting underway at 5 o'clock, between Vikings C and Castletown C. In Ladies Division 2, Vikings C2, Valkyries C1, Harlequins B2, Castletown E0, and Ramsey B1, Backers C2. In the mixed under-15s league, awaiting a result in the game between Valkyries and Harlequins, but Castletown Sabres 7, Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 0, Vikings A1, Backers 5. That concludes our classified results. Reaction to rugby and hockey coming a little bit later on from Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham, but we will start off with football. And Tony, you were at an action-packed game for us this afternoon, but we won't touch on that first. We'll turn to the news in the league, and we'll start off first of all with the Canada Life Premier League. Peel didn't even have to play a game today to be crowned champions. The results between Russian United and Foxdale was enough to see that over the line for them.
That's the one, but when it was coming through to us that Russian had taken the lead and you go, okay, that was sort of sense to go in that way, but then when Foxdale got it back to 1-1. You thought, wow, okay, you might have to wait a little bit, and then 2-1 to Foxdale, and it was all sort of going in sort of Foxdale's way. But certainly the second half, by the sound of it, great performance by Rushden United. I've got Jay Chatwood as one of the goal scorers for Foxdale, but for Rushden United they really were banging them in, and it was Joe Reid who got the first one, and well done to him, because he's back in the team now and playing well. But Matty Lamb got one, Andrew Cadwald I think got a couple, and I'm just trying to get a bit of a report up on this one, because there was that many goals flying in. I think everyone was finding it hard to keep track on it, so we'll see if we can find it, and we have, because it was Andy Cadwald who got one to make it 4-2. Lee Gale from 40 yards on 68 minutes. But Aaron Hawley made it 5-3 on 71. 77 minutes, Adam Lamb got his first team debut goal, so well done to him. And Aaron Hawley made it 7-3 on 90 minutes to make it final score 7-3. So an absolute cracking game in that one, plenty of goals, and just shows you where Rushden are at the moment. They're in great form, and they'll be looking for a good Hospital Cup run when it starts next week.
OK, we'll go through the other games first. We'll talk more about Peel once we've gone through today's results. So we'll go back up to the top of the score sheet. Laxey 0, Ayr United 3. That's a convincing win for Ayr this afternoon, isn't it? Maybe expected, but I mean, Laxey have been in pretty good form, haven't they, lately? Yeah, they have. I think when you look at the team sheet of Laxey, it's changed big time over the last few weeks. A lot of good young players who've come in and done pretty well, but they've got to learn their trade. And against Ayr United, it's always going to be difficult, because I watched enough of them last week that it means everything to them to finish as high up in the league as they can, because I think they pretty well knew that Peel were going to win it. And, today with those 3 points, it sort of puts them on 40 now, played 21, and I think they're going to get that runners-up spot with Corinthians dropping the points today. But Harry Best, who's been in good form, he got, I think it was the first one for Ayr. Jamie Callister always weighs in with a single goal, probably a header again with the second, and Chris Duggan got the third one. So good result for Ayr United in the end. Corinthians finishing their season today, playing their final game. Not the result they would have wanted, though. And I mean, obviously, it didn't affect the top of the table. They couldn't do anything about that today. But Ramsey coming out 1-0 winners. No,
I think Corinthians went out with a mentality today to win. To get those 3 points to finish second, because if I'm being honest, I think Corinthians have had a fantastic season. For the team to be sort of so young like it is, and to finish in second place or third place is fantastic, unbelievable. But today was just one of those games. I think it was tight. It was Ramsey who got the goal in the second half, and it was Liam Cooper who got the one. It was 0-0 at half time. So it was everything to play for, but it was that sole goal by Liam that split the two teams up and gave the 3 points to Ramsey.
And the final game in Canada Life Men's Premier League sounds like it could be a bit of a thriller between St John's United. Union Mills finished 3 apiece. Yeah, I haven't got Union Mills goal scorers, so if someone can text us through, please, 166177. But for St John's, Luke Murray with a couple of goals. Well done, Luke. It's his birthday on Monday, so happy birthday and a nice little present for you. Callum Taggart got the other goal, so OK, 1 point for St John's, but they'll be sort of looking at that one and saying we could have won that one. But Union Mills be still sort of licking their wounds a little bit after that result last week where they got knocked out of the cup. OK, we must say as well, congratulations to Peel, as mentioned in the opening of the programme. They're being crowned Canada Life Men's Premier League champions for the 24-25 season today. First of all, just for the bystander in this, Tony, I think I was talking to Rob about this before, it might be prudent to explain to people why Foxdale were the deal breaker in this, because if anyone looks at the table, Foxdale are sat down in ninth, so if we just explain why it was their result we were waiting on today.
I certainly can. Up until this afternoon at 2 o'clock when the game commenced, Foxdale had 7 games in hand, and if they got those 21 points they could join Peel on 50, but Peel would have to have lost their 2 remaining games. Foxdale would have had to win their 7 remaining games, and also when you look at the goal difference from today, goal difference for Peel is plus 50 and goal difference for Foxdale was 1. So they would have had to score 49 goals, or possibly, depends how Peel's scoring would have gone. But let's congratulate Peel, because I think in a lot of people's eyes at the start of the season, it was sort of Ayr and Peel that everyone was looking at. And they've done ever so well. It's not nice singling one person out, but Thomas Brown has been phenomenal in front of goal. Rhys Oates has come back to his best as well and been playing well. And just all round defensively, and when the defence was really struggling, Aaron Costain was injured and they just had no one to put in there, and they've been able to patch up the gaps. Daniel Bell's come in, Daniel Lace has come in, they changed the goalkeeper halfway through the season. It's been a real mix and match affair, but congratulations to them. Well done to Peter Kenyock and his team for getting Peel into that position where they could win the league, and they've done it in style. Now they've won a cup final to play in, so hopefully they'll chip away in the Hospital Cup. But I'm sure the fans at Peel will be absolutely bouncing in town tonight. Unfortunately, they haven't played today, but it'll be probably looking at it, unless they've got St Mary's next week in the Hospital Cup. So if they got beat, we might be able to get their league game on for them on the Saturday so they can enjoy. If not, it'll be midweek. And
just looking at the tail, when we were doing this program towards the end of last year, that top 3, 4 maybe to a certain extent was really quite tight. There was chopping and changing most weeks depending on results. But you look at this now, Peel have got the opportunity to potentially win the league by, what's that going to be, 12 points potentially by if results go their way. They've really pressed on the second half of the season, haven't they?
They have. When I'm looking at it now, and I've got a rough idea who they've got to play. Okay, we'll give Peel 54 points for the end of the season. I'm looking at Corinthians. They finished their games today, so they'll be on 44. Ayr United still have 3 to play, and they're on 40 now. So they could pick up those 3 points and get on 49. So 5 points behind Peel is not too bad. But Ayr United were in the driving seat as well. It was nip and tuck, I thought, with Peel. I didn't expect Corinthians to this year. They certainly will in future years, there's no doubt about it, with the young players they've got. But this year to sort of beat Peel twice, to beat Ayr United as well. I think they beat Ayr twice, beat St Mary's. That's pretty good. It's the teams below them where they've sort of seemed to struggle. And, the game against Uni Mills recently where they lost, the game against Foxdale has cost them dearly. But credit to Ben Qualtrough and the team and everyone else involved in there to get them into that second place with all the games near enough done. I think is a big shift. But when you look at other clubs around, St Mary's as well said at Christmas, I just feel that St Mary's are going to play a big part towards the end. But unfortunately, it hasn't quite happened for them. But it's been exciting to come near enough to the final week, and we don't know who's won it, but Peel have done it today.
Okay, we'll move on to Arden and Drugan Limited Division 2. We've also got some congratulations to say in this league. We believe Braddon have been crowned champions of Arden and Drugan Limited Division 2 by virtue of their draw against Governors Athletic Day. Points seem to be enough to secure the league for them.
Yeah, it looks that way. We'll get that all checked because it's all a bit of a rush, but that's a great result for Governors Athletic against the league champions. And Joe Burrows got the goal for Braddon. Not too sure who got Governors' goal, but credit to them. But it was never going to be presented, the trophy today. We don't like pitching up. Sometimes you have to if it's last game, but to turn up and then possibly walk away without presenting the trophy. So I think the game I've singled out is against Castletown because it's at Braddon. It's at Braddon's home ground, so it's the best place to do it. So we'll have a look when that comes up on the rescheduled fixtures. But again, Will Smith and his team, they're yo-yo, aren't they? 1 minute they're up, next minute they're down. But I think they'll stay up this time with the team that they've got there. And, well done to everyone. And, the Goldsmith boys like David, Brian, Steve, have put so much effort into that club. I know there are others, Shane Larkin, Steve Davis. They are an incredible bunch of people who've stayed through it, through thick and thin. And these are the times where they get their reward for what they've done because, yes, the players win the games and win the points, but it's the committee that run the club. And without those sort of volunteers, then you don't have a club. That's why 1 or 2 clubs are sort of struggling a bit because they're just missing volunteers. But for Braddon, well done to them. And, they deserve it and they've got a lot more silverware to go for and certainly one on Good Friday when they play against Ramsey Youth Centre in the World Cup final.
And we should as well mention, while we're talking about promotion, the second promotion spot from Division 2 isn't quite confirmed yet. Ramsey Youth Centre 5-0 winners against Douglas and District today. They will have, I think, an extra game to play over Colby. Colby look like they've got one game left, could match Ramsey Youth Centre for points and already ahead on goal difference. So that's going to be quite a tight battle between those two going into the last couple of games.
Yeah, it is. The Division 2 is going to be, and people are just saying, when are we starting the night games? We're starting 15th to 16th. That's Tuesday and a Wednesday. Limited games because we've not got a massive backlog, so there's no point in cramming them on and struggling with the light. One or two clubs have, so we've put games on. One of them is Foxdale, who will play against St Mary's, I think it is, at Foxdale. So that is just before the final. And then, to be fair, we've put a game on which worked out well, which was St George's against Ayr United. So both of the finalists will be playing midweek before the FA Cup final, which is the right thing to do. And then after that, we'll get cracking with the night games.
I should mention as well, Old Boys there, because they've got an extra game to play, could sneak into that promotion place. Okay, let's look at the other games in Arden Drug Unlimited Division 2. Colby 8, Michael United 3.
Terrific result, and Colby mean business, don't they? And today, I've watched them a couple of times of late, Colby, and I'm thinking, where's Carl Hickey's goals dried up? But they didn't dry up today. He got 4 of them. And his strike partner, Steve Collister, got a couple of goals. My old pal, Ollie Edge, who's been banging a couple of goals in last week, I think it was, and he got 1 today. And Nick Clegg got the other one. Haven't got Michael United scorers. Terrific result for Colby.
Old Boys, the game against Maloo was postponed. Maloo unable to field
just
the team.
Got a note on that, if you don't mind, Simon, is that it was very late cancellation. Maloo have been in touch, and I will speak to Adam tonight, but obviously we're doing the classifieds now. But a full apology to the FA, to Douglas High School Old Boys, and the referee. It was just totally out of their hands. I think a person who was playing for them got hurt at work this morning, and we hope speedy recovery for him. And it was just, they couldn't get it together. So, but they do apologise big time, and that means a lot. That shows a bit of class from the club to be able to come on and just say sorry. So they've done it.
Okay. We did mention Douglas and District, Ramsey Central Old Boys, but we didn't get into the Youthy scorers. They were 5-0 winners this afternoon.
Yeah, and when you look at Division 2, it's Ramsey Youth Centre. You've got Colby chipping around. The Paul Henry Gold Cup is all to play for. You've got Douglas High School Old Boys, Braddon in there. And Ramsey Youth Centre have been brilliant towards the end of the season, and that puts them in good stead. I know Douglas and District are a team that they were expected to beat, but to do it 5-0, credit to them. And I haven't got the goal scorers, so if they could text us through, please, 166 177, but 5-0. Great result.
I've just had a message in as well with the Michael scorers from that Colby Michael United game. Nathan Farragher got 2, Jacob Langton with the other one, and this message also says that Carl Hickey needs to buy a lottery ticket, every goal in the top or bottom corner. He was the difference in what was a closer game than the result shows. 3-1 at half time, back to 4-3, and a good battle, but Hickey finishing was top class.
Carl's a good player, good goal scorer. And I'm sure Colby are glad that they've got him back this year playing, because he missed a couple of years ago. And it's just a name that you always look to see coming up when Colby score goals.
Okay, final game for us to look at in Arden Drug Unlimited Division 2. Castletown 1, Douglas Royal 8.
Yeah, and this could damage Castletown's qualification for the Paul Henry Gold Cup, because they dropped 3 big points today. Alex Crawley back from suspension, he got the goal for Castletown. But for Douglas Royal, Kieran Lane got 3, Simon Dooley with a couple of goals, Stuart Foley, Evergreen, Stuart Foley got 1, Dom Smith, and I think it was Chris Parker got the other one. Super result for Royal.
Okay, moving on to Canada Life Combination 1. A little bit of contention on the messages between this. I've had 2 varying scores in this match we were missing between Union Mills and St John's United. I've had one message in say it was 5-4 to Union Mills. I've had another in say it was 4-3 to Union Mills.
Right. Doesn't matter. Union Mills have won, and both of them. So
it's 3 points either way, isn't it?
We'll let them battle that one out. But that's a good result, because when you look at St John's last week, beat Ramsey, who are a third. So that's a big turnaround for Union Mills. And when you look out at the last 4 games, Simon, Union Mills haven't been able to field a team. So that's a bizarre scoreline, and we'll get that one checked. But by the sound of it, it's been a win for Union Mills, either 5-4 or 4-3.
Okay. You just mentioned Ramsey there, sitting in third, 6-1 winners against Foxdale today.
Yeah, Billy Gilbert got the goal for Foxdale. For Ramsey, it's a shame because they're tussling away at the top of the table, but I've got no goal scorers put in for them. So again, if you could please, 166 177.
The game you were at for us this afternoon between Onchan and Rush United. Got a message in about this game actually a little bit earlier on, just to say massive congratulations to Onchan. Hard to take the defeat today, but good battle throughout the season. Onchan 7-4 winners against Rush United. Yeah,
and I think Onchan need 1 point now out of 2 games. They've got Foxdale to play, and I think it's St John's. But Rushen and Ramsey, who are second and third, those 2 teams have got to play each other. And that game is up on the 16th, I think it is, of April. We'll check on that one. But certainly today it was a great start because 14 minutes, Josh Kenyick scored the goal, the first one to give Onchan the lead, and that was 1-0, a 30-yarder. And Josh is actually down at the bowl at the moment getting changed because he's about to go and play for FCIOM as well. So he's going to have some tired legs later on. But then 24 minutes, it was a corner ball for Rushen and Josh Tower, who had a good start to the game, to be fair, at the back, keep things nice and tight, and got the header and made it 1-1. But then Josh Kenyick had a penalty awarded to Onchan, and he took it and scored on 27. Then we sort of went into 3 minutes later when Lockie Denham, who had a terrific first half, a little bit quieter later on, but the ball came over Simon, and just the technique and everything from him finished it off, and that was 2-2. But then I think it was 3-2 when James Lease, good run for him through for Onchan on the right hand side, and James managed to get the shot in, and on 34 it was all going Onchan's way. But just before half time, and literally about 30 seconds to be fair, it was Lockie Denham again with his second of the game. Good strike by him, and everything was settled for a half time chat at 3-3. But then within 13 minutes of the second half, it was 4-3 to Onchan, I think it was. Joe Waddington got the goal in that one, and then it was 5-3 with Josh Brookbank on 63 minutes. So it was all to play for, but George F. Butler got one for Onchan to make it 6-3, and then Fingal Watterson it was who got the fourth goal for Rushen to make it 6-4 on 73. And then it was Josh, can't remember now his surname, can't remember which one it was. Anyway, tell a lie, it was Josh who played the ball in, and Lewis Dawson it was who got the goal to make it 7-4 to Onchan. Good game to watch, ding dong all the way, and just credit to both sets of players, chipping away at it. But Onchan deserved it, and you can see why Onchan could possibly lift this championship.
Okay, and finally we move on to Arden and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. We're still awaiting a result for Douglas Royal against Douglas and District, but I have had a message in about that, which is somewhere in amongst the messages here, just to say well done to Peter Baton on reffing the Douglas Royal and D&D combi game. Another old school ref keeping the games going.
Yeah, and it's always good to see that. But do you want to go through the Old Boys score? Old Boys 2, Braddon 3, and it was Jeff Murphy with 1, Joe Tier with 2 of the goals for Braddon. It was Tyler Carrister, I think it was, who got the 2 goals for Douglas High School Old Boys, and in the other one it was Pulrose United 0, Ramsey Youth Centre 2, and we haven't got Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys goal scorers. And
you're a bit of a glutton for punishment this evening, Tony, because you're having stood outside all day in Onchan. You're now going to head down to the bowl and join Rob for the FCIOM Lower Breck game, aren't you?
I certainly am. So hopefully Rob's got a nice warm cup of tea there for me, and we'll get down there, and good crowd, good atmosphere. But this is going to be a massive game. I think FCIOM playing against one of the top sides. It's going to be tough, and anyone out there just wants to see one of the top teams in this league, here's your chance to go down and support the FCIOM players. All
right, Tony, thank you very much. We'll get team news from Rob a little bit later on this programme. Oh, and we've just had that Douglas Royal D&D combi result just come in. Douglas Royal 1, D&D 4. That's that result.
Manx Radio Sport.
27 minutes after 5 o'clock, and we can now join Dave Christian for a look at today's rugby action.
Yeah, just the two senior games today, Simon. One in Counties 3, ADM Langston Cheshire, and the other was a Manx Cup tie. We'll start off with the Counties 3 game, Vagabonds versus Cole and Nelson. Now, before the game, Cole and Nelson were an outside bet for promotion from Counties 3, and a trip to struggling Vagabonds, at least on paper, seemed like a solid chance for maximum points. Vaggers had lost 6 on the bounce, and Colne hadn't been beaten since the 4th of January. Wet and windy conditions, however, and a stunning Vagabonds performance combined to give Vaggers maximum points in a 36-17 win. Vagabonds started really well. Matty Jones was over in the first 5 minutes, but Dave Goodings, he equalised for Colne and Nelson, and it looked like they were going to take charge of the game, but Vaggers weren't having any of it. They played the game predominantly in the forwards, as is traditional in these sort of conditions. It was wet and windy and horrible up there at Ballyfletcher, and Vaggers paid off with their forward work. They had scrum domination, they were taking their own line-out ball, everything going well for them, and Matt Rockwell got a try for Vaggers. That put them well clear then. Cal Donnell added a try before half-time, and there were 2 conversions from Ollie Howard. But Cole and Nelson, they didn't take it lying down, or probably is the best way to describe it. Standoff Jake Hargreaves skipped through the Vaggers defence, in under the posts. He converted his own try, and at half-time, Vaggers were 19-12 ahead. Early in the second half, Sasha Hayward went over for Colne. That narrowed the gap to 19-17, but Vaggers came back strongly. Cal Donnell got his second of the game. That gave them a little bit of breathing space, and the try bonus point. 4 tries give you an extra point in this league. Tom Gascoigne then made the game safe with 10 minutes to play. Ollie Howard converted that try to make doubly sure. And then when the final play of the match, Vagabonds added icing to the cake with their prop forward John Ferguson crashing over from close range. And Vagabonds extremely happy with that performance. They've got to go away to De La Salle next week for their final game, but after that it's the Manx Cup, and they'll have a little bit of confidence now going into that Manx Cup. And I think games against Ramsey and Southern Nomads will be perhaps not quite as much of a challenge as they were before today's result. That'll be a massive boost for everybody at the Vagabond squad. Talking of the Manx Cup, Douglas won their Manx Cup opener 64-0. I guess you could describe that as a comfortable win. That was at Portishead again against Southern Nomads. Shay Waterworth topped the scoring charts for Douglas with 2 tries, and also tries for Douglas from Blake Everson, Craig Martin, his brother Kyle Martin, James Ross, Brendan Kelly, Blake Snell, Richard Bell and Neil Killier. Nathan Robson kicked 7 conversions in the wet and windy conditions. The Manx Cup's played on a round-robin league. Everybody plays everybody once, and the 2 top teams will play off in the final. This result will take Douglas top. They're top ahead of Ramsey, who have also got 5 points, but on points difference, Douglas will take the top spot. And there's only 2 fixtures being played yet, and I think we've got another couple of weeks now before we get the next one, which will be a midweek fixture, I think around about the 17th of April. So that's all to come, but at the moment, Douglas in charge in the Manx Cup, and a fantastic win for Vagabonds. It's been a miserable day, but they'll be happy up there at Ballyfletcher.
Dave Christian, thank you very much.
Manx Radio Sport.
29 minutes away from 6 o'clock. Before we go to hockey with Ben Cunningham, let's head down to the bowl and get team news from FC Isle of Man against Lower Breck. Tony Mepham's just left the studio to head down there to join Rob Pritchard on commentary duty. And Rob, Ben has said I have to specifically ask you, as it's a chilly evening, are the gloves on tonight?
Thanks, Simon. Yes, good evening. Welcome to the Bowl Stadium ahead of this NWCFL Premier Division match between FC Isle of Man and Lower Breck, with the Ravens having just 4 games to go. I can confirm it's not gloves weather just at the moment, but if it does get any colder and the wind starts to pick up, they may have to be considered and brought out of the bag that's under my feet at the moment. Anyway, we can bring you team news now for both sides, with kick-off just around 29 minutes away. Let's start with FC Isle of Man. They make 3 changes to the squad that drew 2-2 with South Liverpool last weekend. Ronan McDonnell, Jack McVeigh and Dean Pinnington all drop out. Coming in against Lower Breck is captain and club's top scorer Sean Doyle, as well as Luke Booth and Josh Kenyuk as well. And actually, just in the last 2 minutes or so before you joined us here, Simon, I got a tap on the shoulder from FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones that there has been an 11th hour change again in the FC Isle of Man squad. Charlie Higgins is sadly injured. He was due to start tonight, so that means that Sean Doyle, who was due to start from the bench, is now into the starting 11. FC Isle of Man starting 11 is as follows. In goal is Adam Killier, and then it's Callum Sherry, Jacob Crook, Ryan Burns, Alex Maitland, Carl Watson, captain Steve Whitley, Sam Baines, Sean Doyle, Danny Gerrard and Dan Simpson. The substitutes for FC Isle of Man are Luke Booth, Harley Jackson, Josh Kenyuk and Ben Wasser. And for the visitors, title-chasing Lower Breck, in goal is Theo Roberts, and then it's James Cooper, Daniel Lowy, Fraser Cookson, Thomas Mitchell, the captain Connor Millington, Jesse Dowling, Liam Morris, Lewis Buckley, Sam Burns and Elliot Hughes. The substitutes for Lower Breck are Yao Everard, Jordan Barrow, Tom Douglas, Owen Collinge and Dylan Crawford. And that means Lower Breck, they made 2 changes themselves from a 2-0 win at Stockport Town 7 days ago. Tom Crockin and Gary Moore are the ones dropping out, with Everard and Crawford on the bench coming into the setup. Your referee this evening is Joseph Morrell, and his assistants are James Cherry and Liam Thomas. Well, FC Isle of Man, their barren and winless run, their longest winless run of the season, has continued so far. It's now 7 games without a victory after they were held to that 2-2 draw by South Liverpool 7 days ago. And in terms of tests in the NWCFL Premier Division right now, they don't come much tougher than the visitors this evening. Lower Breck go into this weekend just 3 points off the top and the league leaders, Bury, and they will no doubt be pushing for that top spot right to the end of the campaign if they continue on this formidable and outstanding run they've been on throughout this season. They've scored 107 goals in the league so far. Only Bury, the league leaders, have scored more, and what's more, in the last 10 games in all competitions they've scored 35 times, so they really know how to find the back of the net. One familiar name in that Lower Breck lineup this evening is that of Sam Burns. He scored twice here last season at the Bowl for his former employers Bury, one of those from the penalty spot in what would turn out to be a 2-0 win for the Shakers that day. One notable absence though from the Merseysiders today is that of Tom Crockin. He also scored twice here at the Bowl last season with his former employers AFC Liverpool in what would be a 3-2 defeat for AFC Liverpool that day as well. But there are plenty of goals wherever you look in this Lower Breck side, and in the reverse fixture between these sides just after Christmas at the end of 2024, Lower Breck ran out resounding 3-0 winners at Anfield Community Sports Centre. But from an FC Isle of Man perspective, although the statistics in some cases look like a bit of grim reading, whilst it is 7 games without a win, they picked up 5 draws in that time, and in the last 5 games they have managed to claw themselves back after conceding first. So there is still some Manx fight in there going into these last few games of the season, even if they are in mid-table at the moment. And when it comes to the head-to-head between these two sides, FC Isle of Man have actually won the last 3 meetings in all competitions here at the Bowl against Lower Breck. So, will FC Isle of Man put a spanner in the works of the Merseysiders' title charge, or will Lower Breck march on in this blockbuster showdown they've got going on with Bury at the Summit? We wait to see. FC Isle of Man versus Lower Breck kick off at 6 p.m, so in just under 25 minutes time, full live match commentary for myself and Tony Mepham from 6 p.m. on Manx Radio AM 1368.
Manx Radio Sport.
And at 25-6, just before we hand it down to the Bowl for full commentary of that game between FC Isle of Man and Lower Breck, let's come to hockey for today. And Ben Cunningham joining me in the studio. Ben, we're starting off in Men's Premier League, and the first game on the sheet was the lunchtime game between Backers A and Valkyries A, and Backers A running out 4-1 winners.
Yeah, Backers A getting the win there, but they desperately needed today to keep that battle going at the top of the league. Jamie Brown with 1, Tony Bentley Roberts with 1, and Elliot Reid with 2, with the consolation going to Ethan Adams.
And not for the first time today, we had this in one of the football results. There's a little bit of contention in the messages we were getting through with the results here, but we have had this confirmed now. It was Vikings A 6, Valkyries B 0.
Yes, and this result means that next weekend, when Backers A meet Vikings A, that game will it is going to decide who wins that league. Backers are going to go into it with a 2-point lead. However, though, goal difference between the two sides is massive. So it's going to be a big task for Vikings A to overcome them. I think Vikings A are going to possibly need at least double figures next weekend. So it's going to be a tough ask for Vikings A, but Vikings A goal scorers today were Alex Andrews with 4 and Josh Dougals with 2.
And the final game in the Men's Premier League, which is a result we were missing during the classified section of the programme, Harlequins A1, Castletown A2.
And that's unfortunately all we've got. We have no goal scorers from Harlequins or Castletown.
Okay, so that means we move on to the Ladies Premier League. I said to you about 3 weeks ago, Ben, that a 0-0 was a rarity in hockey, and I've managed to find another one this afternoon. Ladies Premier League, Vikings A, Valkyries A, finish 0-0.
I think it's just when you're on that we have 0-0s. Absolutely, yeah. A very close game. I thought this was going to be close, but neither side could be split. And these two sides were battling for that runners-up spot in the Ladies Premier League. And that's going to go down to next weekend as well to decide who gets that runners-up spot.
Okay, Backers A were taking on Ramsey A. Narrow win, 1-0 to Backers.
Yeah, this was the battle between the bottom two, and Backers A coming out on top with that one goal win. And it was Sophie Hudson with the goal. For Ramsey, though, they'll be bitterly disappointed because it really looked like they had a chance there to get something from that game. And Backers just nicking it right at the death.
And maintaining parity with the men's team's results, Harlequins A1, Castletown A2.
Yeah, Ella Blakemore for Harlequins A, and then for Castletown A, it was Amy Sellers and Ruby McCubbin, giving Castletown A that still unbeaten run. Okay, they've dropped 1 point, but it's still unbeaten. We have just had a goal scorer through from the Harlequins A, Castletown A game in the men's Premier League, and that was for Harlequins, it was Alfie Swales.
Okay, men's Division 1 now then. Some news within the division. We'll do that first before we get in. No, we'll do the scores first, I think. That makes a more logical way of doing it. The early game, Vikings B4, Ramsey A1. Yeah,
this was the early game in Ramsey this morning at 9:30. Between Vikings B and Ramsey A. Josh Knighting with 2, Josh Dougal with 1, and Ben Dougal with 1 for Vikings B. And Ramsey's goal was Connor Parfitt.
And next game, Castletown B4, Backers C2. This does have some consequences for Backers C, doesn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, this result sees Backers C relegated. They knew they had to get a win today to stand a fighting chance going into the final weekend next weekend, and it's not gone their way. 4-2, it's finished here. Chris Stereo with 2, and Kieran Collister with 2 for Castletown B. And then for Backers C, it was Kyle Benyon and Dan Stevenson.
And the final game in men's Division 1, Backers B9, Harlequins B0.
Yeah, and this result means that Backers B and Vikings B, who are both tied on points, go after this weekend, will face each other next weekend, and that game will decide who wins this title in men's Division 1. So that's going to go right down to the wire. And when these two met earlier in the season, it was a 1-1 draw, so it could come down to goal difference again in this league. Craig Lees with 3, Sam Roberts with 2, Gareth Craig with 1, Ollie Stewart with 1, and Harry Kane with 2.
I mentioned off air, Ben, but we're putting the results together earlier on. There seems to be quite a lot of high-scoring games today. Do you think that's this goal difference playing into that? Do you think there's teams there that know they're going to need to make up some difference going into last weekend?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it in the mixed league just before Christmas that some leagues came down to just having that goal difference, have that better goal difference. So I think a few teams have noticed that. Obviously, it happened in the mixed season. They need to make sure it's right for this men's and ladies season. Absolutely.
And taking us on to speaking of that, taking us to Ladies Division 1, Valkyries B9, Castletown D0.
Yeah, this was the first of a triple header of games I've umpired this afternoon today at Castletown. To say it was been tropical down Castletown is probably an understatement. Steph Cottier with 3, Tamsin Cleveley with 2, Izzy Neal with 2, Emma Miller with 1, and Olivia Quayle with 1.
Castletown B 6-0 winners against Vikings B.
Yeah, Castletown B crowned champions last weekend and still going for that unbeaten run in the league. Okay, they got beaten in the plate, but they're still unbeaten in the league. Fern Pagazzi with 4, Lauren Collister with 1, and Ella Grace Edwards with 1.
And the final game in Ladies Division 1, Castletown C 0, Backers B 2.
And this was a really good game. Another one I umpired today. Really close end-to-end game. Sophie Parting and Ros Lynch with the goals, with a goal each for Backers B, meaning that the relegation battle between Castletown D and Castletown C goes into the final weekend next week.
Okay, moving on to men's Division 2. The game between Backers Colts and Valkyries C, that was awarded an away win to Valkyries C. Backers unable to field a team this morning.
Yes, that was announced just late yesterday that Backers Colts were unable to field a team. A couple of players away, so Backers Colts conceded the game instead because they've had to obviously try and field other teams. So obviously the lowest team has to concede the game. So Backers Colts have conceded that game today.
And the second game, men's Division 2, got underway at 5 o'clock. Vikings C against Castletown C. Have you been reliably informed?
My sources have not let me down. They've not let me down, and I've had 2 messages from the game. Thanks to Debbie and Kenny for keeping me posted. And that game is currently at half-time. Vikings C 3, Castletown C 0.
Okay, we move on to Ladies Division 2. A series of tight games in Ladies Division 2 today. First of all, Vikings C against Valkyries C. Vikings C coming out 2-1 winners. Yeah,
great result there for Vikings C, overcoming a Valkyries C side that have been scoring plenty of goals in their previous game. For Vikings C, it was Shelby Greason with 1 and Joanna Roney with 1. And the Valkyries C goal scorer was Amber Buchanan.
And Harlequins B 2-0 winners over Castletown E.
Yeah, great result there for Harlequins B. Castletown E, a newly formed side in this division. Lots of new players getting involved in the sport, which is great to see. And Castletown making a team out of it. And Molly Dennett and Lara Smith were both on the score sheet for Harlequins.
And the biggest result probably in Ladies Division 2 today came with Ramsey B 1, Backers C 2.
And this result means that Backers C have taken the Ladies Division 2 title, and that was Anna Wilson with 1 and Maya Harding with 1 for Backers C, and then the Ramsey B goal scorer was Daisy Lynch. And we've just had Castletown goal scorers for Castletown Men's A, and they were Archie Cox with 2 goals.
Okay, we move on to mixed under-15s league. Valkyries 8, Harlequins 0.
Get my sheet right. Right, deep breath for this one. William Miller with 1, Harry Lewis with 2, Amber Buchanan with 1, Caleb Quayle with 1, Emma Sturridge with 1, Rhea Meyer with 1, and Bonnie Eels with 1.
That's 7 different scorers in that game.
1, 2, 3. Yep, 7.
Good going. Right, Castletown Sabres 7, Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 0.
Thankfully, just 3 scorers in this one. Christopher Crompton Harvey with 4, Scarlett Crompton Harvey with 1, and Adam Eels with 2.
And final game in the mixed under-15s league, Vikings A 1, Backers 5.
Vikings A goal scorer was Henry Stewart, and then the Backers goal scorers were Charlie Bettridge with 2, Ryan Cartwright with 1, Grace Evans with 1, and Ros Smith with 1.
So heading into the final weekend and next weekend, Ben, there's a lot of the champions have been decided across these leagues, but still an awful lot to play for.
Absolutely, there's still lots to play for. I mean, we're hoping, fingers crossed, next weekend we can go and cover the Backers A v Vikings A game, which is at 2:05 at the NSC. Which we'll hopefully see the title decided in the men's Premier League. But yeah, there's still a lot of things to be decided. Runners-up spots, relegation. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to note as well, this weekend we've been a little stretched with umpires this weekend. Some umpires have had to do 2 games. A couple have had to do triple headers. As you know myself. So it's been a long day for a few umpires, but in this weather, at least the games have all gone ahead. And yeah, big thank you to all the captains again, as always, for giving their support and praising the umpires for battling through the tropical weather today.
Well, you get to spend the Saturday late afternoon anyway in here in the warm studio next week.
I know, I've got a whole month coming up now, haven't I? So yeah, you're going off on a nice break now, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm still here for a couple of weeks, but it's my last one of the season. I think you're looking after April, and then Rob will be back looking after things from the conclusion of the FC Isle of Man season. I think it's the 26th of April. I think will be the first day.
Yeah, that's my last one. That's my sign off.
Not that you're counting.
That's my sign off.
All right, Ben. Thank you very much, and plenty to come from hockey as we head into the final weekend of the season next weekend. Thanks as well to Dave Christian for the rugby coverage this afternoon. Tony Mepham as well, who is rapidly on his way down to the bowl to join Rob Pritchard for commentary this evening as FC Isle of Man take on Lower Breck in the North West Counties Football League Premier Division. That game gets underway in a little over 12 and a half minutes. There'll be full commentary here on Manx Radio AM 1368 and Manx Radio AM on DAB. For the time being, though, I will hand you back to Manx Radio Gold. Rob and Tony taking over at 5 to 6 for commentary of that game this evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.